the moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Oh, yes. Memorial Day weekend is here.
Yes, it's here.
Mm-hmm. It won't be by the time you hear this, so this will be in the distant past, but it's here now.
Only a couple days out, not too far.
Yeah.
The official start to summer.
Unofficial, right? If you're looking at the calendar, that would disagree with you.
Oh, that's okay. I'm thinking cinematically.
That's the only calendar we really care about here.
That's right. Speaking of which, we just passed May 25th, 47th anniversary of Star Wars, what some of you may refer to as A New Hope.
47 years ago, but as you said before we hit record, any day is the anniversary of anything.
Something, I know.
So May 25th is actually a very big movie date, in general, not just Star Wars. Alien also came out on the 25th in 1979, so that would make it its 45th, correct, anniversary.
Yeah, but did Star Wars set that trend by dropping on Memorial Day weekend?
When did Jaws come out?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, you're right. Jaws is referred to as the father of blockbusters.
But
and that was 75.
They couldn't have just touched upon that with Jaws. Like, what would be a good day? Right. Memorial Day.
Let's do it.
Jaws opened
June 20th. So
it was a bit further out.
It was later. Yeah. Either or, you are correct. We are in it.
But that is a huge milestone for Star Wars.
47.
What are they going to do on 50?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait 3 years and find out. I'm assuming they're going to have a huge Star Wars celebration somewhere, maybe back in Colorado where the celebration started back in 99.
And I assume that since they just re-released Phantom Menace, that we will get Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith not too far from now. Theatrically.
Don't know. It's not like when the special editions came out that they announced all three of those.
Right.
So I don't know. I haven't heard anything about the other two.
I mean, if you're going to put out Phantom Menace,
and when you look at the box office, Speaking of which,
I actually liked Revenge of the Sith. I'll go on record as saying I
will as well, because that was the one and only time that I was a participant at the Star Wars celebration, and we got an advanced screening. That was where the title was dropped. By Mr. One Steve Sansweet, and who was head of fan relations at the time. And then we watched, we were, as artists and all the vendors were given an advanced screening of the trailer. And we made them play it 3 times for us.
Oh,
yes.
A part of enjoying that so much is comparing it to the previous 2 films. Like, this is just amazing comparatively.
Yeah. Which is sad, but it'd be nice. I would like to see that in the theater again.
So would I.
I guess we'll find out.
Dooku. Who came up with that name?
Dooku. Well, his counter name was Darth Tyrannus, and I'm like, I'd rather you use that. Dooku.
Almost immediately in my circles, he became known as Dookie, that character.
Dookie. The great Christopher Lee. Was that his last role?
Well, I think that was concurrent with the Lord of the Rings.
You are correct.
Movies coming out.
Yeah. He was a busy man.
Yeah.
What do we talk about today? Where are we going?
Furiosa, to the Australian outback.
Yes, we are going to the far-flung apocalyptic wastelands of the future.
Yes, and then going to the sword and sandal fantasy realm.
Yeah, by Crom, with or without Conan.
Some fans have insisted on retrograding this character into being Conan, willing it into existence.
I think Schwarzenegger's actually going out of his way to try and shoehorn it in. He just wants more money. So that's cool. So we are going Red Sonja, which 1985 debut of Brigitte Nielsen.
What's funny is that, this will come up later, but we haven't yet covered films such as Jurassic Park or Fellowship of the Ring, but yet today.
But here we are. We're going to Red Sonja.
Yes.
The which I want to just say this right now. Take that, all you Blade fans who tout that was the first cinematic representation of a Marvel character, because this preceded it by quite a few years.
I was shocked to read that because here I am thinking that Red Sonja came out of the Conan novels, but
no, it was a creation of the comic crew, who don't get credit.
So they created that little silver bikini outfit that she wears in the comics.
Oh yeah, because that's exactly how
that was not a Frazetta creation then.
Oh, he jumped all over it, I'm sure, though. He's like, what? Okay, I'll paint that. Yeah, give me some bucks and blondes in here. I need some models. Frazetta. Furiosa. A Mad Max saga.
Yeah, you got to shoehorn Mad Max into this. And they do.
Have to.
They do.
Oh, it's not even Mad Max. It was a stunt double. It wasn't even him. It wasn't even Tom Hardy.
Yeah, it's like saying that, for a purist that Memorial Day is the start of the summer. It's not.
It's not. Shoot me down already. All right, I have a little bit of news and then we can get into this Furiosa, because I think you and I are both coming off a screening hours ago.
Yes, less than 24 hours ago, we have both seen Furiosa.
And my feelings for it have changed twice already.
Really? Maybe we shouldn't have recorded this today then.
Well, let's see. Let's see which way I'm leaning.
Did you see the Sasquatch guy back in your theater? Was it you and him again?
No, that was when I was over in Palisades.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. No, I had a paltry 3 other people in my theater for a 2:00 showing yesterday.
That's more than me.
What?
But my showing was at 10 a.m. So you got to give it that. Yeah.
I was still getting off a cruise ship at 10 a.m. I couldn't pull that off. Yeah. The last 24 hours have been a bit of a whirlwind. And just for anyone who cares, I did survive the Bermuda Triangle. And I have to say, I was very disappointed.
Unless you are a doppelganger and the real Jeff is still there.
I never would know. Yeah. As far as I could tell, I did not see a single time portal. I didn't see a space vortex. I was not abducted by aliens. So overall, very disappointing.
I should really test your Star Wars knowledge as the episode goes on.
Oh, so just so
I can prove that you are not a doppelganger.
I could just be AI at this point. Mm-hmm. Those underwater aliens, they're pretty smart. They've been watching TV for quite a few years down there.
Yeah. Hey, they watch all that Skinwalker Ranch stuff too.
They are the Skinwalker Ranch.
We got to live up to this.
Yeah. They're the stars of the show. All right. You want to do some news? You just mentioned Jaws. So I do want to mention this, and especially because we just came off the Fall Guy last episode, which now seems like 18 months ago. But Susan Backlund, who most people here probably don't recognize that name, just passed away. She played the first victim of the shark in Jaws. So that opening scene where her character Chrissy strips down naked, jumps in the water, and then gets viciously attacked. And I'm sure that it has scarred each and every one of us. I still can't watch that scene.
And yet the movie is still PG.
Yeah. Well, I do remember, if you watch enough of these behind the scenes, that when they shot that, and then Spielberg was showing the dailies to some friends, they were appalled because the lighting just revealed all of her lady parts. And he was so the cinematographer had to step in and darken that stuff up. Mm-hmm. Now you could just do it in CG. But 77, she was 77. And what I didn't know is she was a stunt woman. She was a professional stunt woman. And she had been in a couple of different movies prior to this, including a dead prostitute floating in the river. So You ever wonder who played those parts? She was also in Day of the Animals and
Yes,
The Towering
yes.
Inferno.
She got rats thrown at her in Day of the Animals. Actually, mice
Crazy.
that were playing rats.
So mice playing rats?
Yeah.
That's type what? Did the rats union like scream in horror? You can't have mice playing rats.
Well, this was
Racist.
this was pre-PETA as well, because you wouldn't be throwing animals.
You wouldn't be throwing animals. So yeah, I didn't realize she was a professional stunt woman, and she actually lobbied for this part because she said, I wouldn't have to hide my face. I could do whatever little acting you need me to do and then go to it. So she's in the water and she basically has like metal plates attached to her shorts because she's wearing pants underwater. And there's 10 guys on either side of her jerking her back and forth to make it look like she's being thrashed about. And I guess they looped her voice later, and Spielberg notoriously was dumping water down her throat as she was screaming. I'm like, that's just as horrific as being eaten by a shark. Spielberg's waterboarding her over there. I just wanted to give her a shout out because that scene just sticks. That's a horrific scene. Richard Dreyfuss, he said when he first saw that, he was absolutely terrified. I think we're all right there with him.
But she actually reprised her role in 1941.
I know. I was waiting for you to bring that up.
Yeah.
Famously, well, maybe not, maybe infamously.
Was that her buttocks in 1941?
She was a professional stunt woman, and she stripped down to her skivvies, well, below her skivvies in Jaws. So yeah, I'm assuming that had to have been her buttocks. So yes. And I also want to bring this up, which is Roger Corman, Pope of the pop cinema, spiritual godfather of New Hollywood and king of the cult, passed away at the age of 98.
Yes. At this point, it seems like it took place a year ago.
I know. Well, that's the problem when we're bi-weekly now.
Yeah.
And trying to stay on top of this news. But, we've talked about Corman and we've covered a handful of his movies. Listen, this guy was a pioneer of independent filmmaking. I can't even tell you how many movies he made as a producer, but notorious for doing it on a shoestring budget. And you may not recognize half of the movies, but you'll definitely know most of his found talent that he has worked with over the years, which include Robert De Niro, Jack Nicholson, Francis Ford Coppola, James Cameron, and Martin Scorsese.
And Ron Howard as well.
Ron Howard. The list goes on.
Yeah.
There's a point where I just gave up. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many of these young actors, directors, producers got their start underneath him.
And the sad thing, even more sad than it already is, 98 years old. The guy was still producing, producing. And the guy still had no issues with his memory. I just saw him. This was taped in 2023, but still that would have made him 97.
Right.
An interview with Joe Bob, because there was a special on Shudder that ran, just weeks before he passed, where Joe Bob is interviewing him and he's giving detailed answers about movies that he did in the 60s and 70s. So the guy's brain was all there.
Too bad he wasn't running for president. So yeah, it's unfortunately all my news are dead people, but there you go. So that's it then. Let's go to the Wastelands. I will have to ask you this though. Did you get the Wolverine and Deadpool PSA about turn your phone off at the beginning of this movie?
Yes, the red band.
The
PSA,
red bands, yes.
Which was bleeped out, so it wasn't really red band. But
I think that's was the fun of it. For Wolverine to have the ability to not age, he's aged. And we can talk about it because this movie goes out of its way to de-age its main character. And you couldn't have cleaned him up a little bit.
Well, he has to eventually become Old Man Logan, right? So he's
that's true. Maybe he. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen the movie yet, so who knows? Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
and
Deadpool
you know what?
Saves him right before he dies in Logan.
This movie is something that I don't have an issue watching the trailer for, because I know that they are holding back, thankfully. That the trailers are only really giving you the tip of the iceberg here. Right. So I saw a new trailer for this, apart from the red band PSA.
Oh,
for
okay.
Furiosa, where they're playing Like a Prayer.
I have not seen that yet.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's quickly coming upon us the end of June, I think.
July.
July.
They're making us wait.
Okay. Yeah, they're all over the place. They're teasing it left and right.
Yeah.
I feel that by the time July rolls around, we're going to know everything there is to know about this. So speaking of knowing too much, I have a friend on Facebook who just took his kids to McDonald's, and McDonald's is already dropping the Happy Meals for the Captain America New World Order.
Yes.
And
I've seen
it. That there's spoilers all over the place.
Character spoilers. Yes.
I mean, I get it. I think we talked about that when Wonder Woman got backed up. And yet Doritos already had all those bags with the characters on them. So, well, they're not going to sit in a warehouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I, unfortunately, even before because I was actually in a McDonald's less than a week ago and saw the display myself.
Oh, no.
So, but even before that, you're just turning on the internet, seeing a photo and of an article from this movie with the screenshot from it with a character spoiler.
Stop it.
Wasn't even looking for it, and it just was there.
Right. Everyone wants to be TMZ now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to spoil it for all of us.
Yeah. Although it did serve its purpose, because now I'm much more excited to see it than I was previous to getting spoiled.
Oh, okay. All right. You're like, huh? I'm going to take a stab. I'm going to guess on this show.
Well, you can bring it up after we see the movie.
I was going to say that's such a non-thing right now. So.
All right. The other thing I can say,
yes,
and this ties right into our first film, is that we both watched, again, Fury Road to be ready for Furiosa. And I hadn't seen it. You said that you christened your Blu-ray, which you've probably had for over 5 years, right?
I picked this up. What this movie dropped in 2015. So when it dropped on Blu-ray, that's when Best Buy was still selling them. And I have a 3D TV, so I picked up the 3D Blu-ray.
Ooh, I wonder what you could get for that. I wonder what you could get for that on eBay.
Well, I broke the seal. I don't know. I don't know if it's even worth anything now, but I went to go watch it the other night before we left on our vacation. And I'm like, I haven't even watched this on Blu-ray. And I will tell you, it's glorious. It is so gorgeous. The colors, the details, it's just so hyper.
I watched it on Max and it was beautiful. I can only imagine what the Blu-ray looked like.
Yeah, it was something to behold.
I had forgotten, unbelievably so, what an insane movie Fury Road is.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't stop.
No, it is
for
relentless.
Its 2-hour runtime.
It is.
It drops you right into it and just does not let you go. It takes you by the throat and doesn't let you go for 2 hours.
I want to say it's. I'm going to use the descriptive of frenetic. It's just hyper realistic. He's got large sequences where it's the camera is almost sped up. Where the characters are,
and he's always done that. If you watch Mad Max or Road Warrior, that's a trait of George Miller.
This is what I want to bring this up, though, because this is the original director of Road Warrior and Mad Max, correct?
I took note of this when I saw this movie in 1983. My favorite segment from Twilight Zone, the movie, the one on the plane with John Lithgow.
Yeah, Terror at 30,000 feet.
That's George Miller, yes.
Wow, I don't think I knew that. But yeah, so this is, Fury Road just came out of nowhere, and you're like, all right, why is this guy remaking his movie? You're recasting your Mad Max, and boy, it is just.
I was the same way because I loved the Road Warrior. When I was 13 and this thing dropped on HBO, I had the VC, my relatively new VCR,
all set to record.
Take that thing and watched it ad nauseum over and over and over again. Invite my friends over and watch it over and over and over again. So that's one of those movies where I know every line of dialogue, every beat. So I was very dubious as well when I heard this, and then saw it was like it's maybe a reboot, more so than a sequel, or it could be argued either way. But after seeing it, I'm of the opinion now that Mad Max could very much be like a James Bond, where you can continue this with different actors if you so choose.
Yeah, and we'll get into it on the back end of this discussion, but I do think that he feels the same way in the sense that there's a much larger world out there in this Mad Max universe that we could branch off all these other characters and have side adventures and kind of just do this world building.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily need to be chronological, or
No, and
in
this
step.
one makes sense. I mean, they go out of their way to explain that this is, this is an origin story of Furiosa, which is Charlize Theron's character, who we're introduced to in Fury Road.
Mhm.
And it leads right. It literally, this is like Rogue One. It leads right into, A New Hope. It leads right into where we're introduced to her in Fury Road. Although it takes a long time to get there, 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Yes, and
Yes.
so this was being touted as the longest Mad Max movie yet, because
Okay, why is it?
the originals were lean and mean, right? They're
Yes,
not 2
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
And previously Fury Road was the longest at 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
So this
But that is at such a pace that you don't feel those 2 hours.
No, this one, I have to admit, I did.
Yeah,
Some of these sequences, I think, go on longer than they should.
There was at least twice in this movie that I was hoping it was over, and it just kept going. Now, again, I just came off a cruise ship. I'm exhausted. We've been eating and drinking the entire week, so I got to put that mindset of just unloading, sitting in my movie chair with my popcorn. I did get popcorn. I got my soda and just sat there and just wanted to be entertained. And I was very much looking forward to this because Fury Road, especially after just watching it again. And I was very excited to see what Chris Hemsworth was bringing to this movie, because he had to lobby pretty hard to get this role.
Yeah, you'd think that for an Australian actor, like Mad Max is like the dream role, right?
Well, that was his dream role. He actually auditioned for Fury Road as Mad Max.
Okay.
So didn't get that. Obviously, that went to Tom Hardy, but he had to really sit down with Miller and kind of sell himself on this. And he's got the prosthetic nose. He's doing an Australian accent, but to the point where he's almost unrecognizable. There are parts where he's just eating up the scenery in this stuff.
Yeah, I think he does successfully disappear into the character, because obviously when he first shows up, you're like, oh, there's Chris Hemsworth.
Well,
But
I think that was Miller's. I think that was Miller's concern was, coming off these Thor movies, his anonymity's out the door now. And it's just like, oh, look, that's there he is. Plus
he's got the flowing cape and everything. So all that's working against him. But I think he still succeeds in disappearing into the character, because I think he's the highlight of the movie.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give praise to the little girl who plays the young Furiosa.
Yes. And she had screen time for a good chunk of this movie.
I put in my notes that this girl should have got top billing, because Alila Brown, Alyla, who is on screen for well over an hour before we're actually shown a grown-up Furiosa, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. And what I didn't realize, because there are parts where I'm like, wait, is this her now, or is this still the little girl? Because there's not much difference in height between these two over the course of this 19 plus years or whatever. But you know what they did? They digitally de-aged Anya's face and then wrapped it around this little girl. Because so there's a company called Metaphysical AI, and what they did was they filmed all the scenes with this little girl, and then they went back, just like in the Fall Guy, where he's getting the 3D scan of his face. They, over the course of these scenes leading into Anya Taylor-Joy playing the character, they slowly started to integrate her face onto this little girl, because Anya Taylor-Joy has very, very unique eyes, and 3/4 of her scenes, she's maybe 35-40% Anya Taylor-Joy. And then by the end, they fully have wrapped her face around this little girl. So when it transitions to Anya Taylor-Joy, it's seamless. We just talked about this not too long ago with the Harrison Ford, with the Indiana Jones, where, the stunt guys are wearing Harrison Ford rubber masks while riding the horses. Now you've got the ability to just whatever, we're going to talk about Jurassic Park at some point. And there's a famous scene where the little girl they're trying to get up into the ceiling. And as she falls, she looks up as the velociraptors are chasing her. And that's the stunt double. And they had to go back with CG and replace the stunt double's face with the little girls. And it was like one of the first times that they really did that successfully, where it's seamless. Now you don't even know what to believe anymore. This is crazy. So yeah, I read that this morning and I was blown away. And I'm like, no wonder why I couldn't figure out if that was her or not. Yeah.
I had no idea.
I know. And I think that's the goal, is to make it seamless.
Yeah. But that girl, to your point, is just when she's taken, like kicking and screaming from the green place in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then the movie's off. You know, she never sees the green place again. And you're hoping that she does, and you know from seeing Fury Road
that's
that
the
she
thing.
doesn't.
That's the thing. I think knowing where we're introduced to this character in Fury Road definitely informs you, because it's like, you know, it becomes like a revenge film. And numerous times she's almost there, and then gets kind of thwarted and you know, kind of put back into the mix. But I mean, again, there's large sequences where this little girl's not talking, and yet what she's doing is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
because she has to act against Hemsworth, who is over the top in some scenes. You know, you've got these wacky road warrior type thugs in goofy costumes and whatnot, and it is just, yeah, no, I give this little girl high praise. Now I don't know if it was Anya Taylor-Joy. That little girl might have been sleeping the whole time. We'll fix her in post. Don't worry about it.
And if you haven't seen Fury Road in a while, it is worth it to see it again, because they have a lot of the same, especially the bad guys, a lot of the same characters return in Furiosa that are in Fury Road. Like
it does.
Heads of Gastown, the heads of Bullet Farm,
Bullet Farm,
and of course, Immorta Joe from Citadel is in here.
Although it's not played by the same actor.
No, who has passed, unfortunately.
Right, he passed in 2020. Lockie Holm played him in this, and again, he's another, you know, character actor who came up to the Miller and said, listen, I can do this justice. I can match his cadence. I can match his, you know, his eye movements. Because really, this character has a mask on the entire time. So he's emoting with his eyes. And if you didn't know any better, you would never know. It just boggles my mind, because, you know, Charlize Theron really wanted to play this character again, and they decided not to go that route. But then you see the level of CG and de-aging that they did to kind of, why couldn't you have just done that with her?
Yeah, although she is very statuesque, is the, you know, it might have been a harder sell if she's, you know, over 6 feet tall, playing a younger version of herself. They could have, I guess, de-heightened her as well as de-aged her.
Right. I mean, listen, look what they did with Captain America. He was a scrawny punk. I could have taken him when he was before he got powered up.
He would have hit you with that garbage.
He probably would have all day long. Yeah. But I almost feel this is the one thing that I walked away from, because again, the minute I walk out of a theater, everybody wants to know, what'd you think? My wife asked me, my son asked me, what'd you think? What'd you think? I'm like, just give me a minute to process this. And if you're going into this movie expecting Fury Road, you are going to be disappointed, because it is not that movie. And I was all ready to kind of come down on it and be like, it's not even like, it feels like it's a different director. And then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, we saw what he did from 1972 or 82 to here. So why would he just take Fury Road and replicate that?
I hate to bring this into it, but you could take a look at Phantom Menace. And okay, even Lucas admits, okay, I have to set up a lot of stuff that you see later on. So there has to be exposition here.
There's a lot of exposition in here, which is, oh, that's how she knows that trick. Oh, this is how she loses her arm. Oh, that's why she's mad at that guy. You know, yeah, there's a lot of setup, but it's just shot like there's large action sequences that you only see from like the mountaintop over the other characters' shoulders watching this unfold, where in Fury Road, you're right in the middle of it all.
Yes, and although to be fair, there are very long action sequences in here that punctuate the exposition.
Right.
That I think maybe are trying to make up for it, but I think are just go on too long. because at some point,
Yeah, there's a one I read. They were actually referred to it as this stairway to nowhere. It's a 15-minute action sequence. In this entire sequence sets up, Miller actually talks about this. It really sets up like this turning point for Furiosa, where she kind of comes into her own. But it took 78 days to shoot this scene, a 15-minute scene. Everything in Fury Road, and again, you can't help but kind of compare these two. Fury Road is so tactile. It is so like everything that you're watching on screen is happening on screen. It's not CG. It's not. Listen, they're retouching out these stunt guys jumping off the poles left and right, but they are jumping from a pole to a moving vehicle. There are moments in this that almost border on Attack of the Clones, where it is clearly blue screened background. And it did take me out a little bit. It really kind of slowed it down for me, especially when you're comparing it to Fury Road, which is, I want to say it's almost flawless. I can't find a single fault with Fury Road.
Then that may be a feature 5 bucket then.
It may be. But I think it's unfair. And this is what I was getting at, which is I think it's unfair to kind of, well, it's not Fury Road because it is something different. And he is trying to, there's very little dialogue in Fury Road. From what I understand, Miller actually had this entire backstory for Furiosa, this movie that we just watched now, 9 years later or whatever, all mapped out before he even filmed Fury Road because he needed to know where that character was coming from. So it's not like he retroactively went back and said, all right, now we're going to fill in the gaps.
And that's what Charlize Theron was using as a reference point.
Yeah, right. All right, here's your motivation. Here's who you are.
So I can see why she's disappointed now that she can't play this because she's lived with this backstory since she filmed Fury Road.
Yeah. And it's like, I guess I'm not, it's like telling Jake Lloyd you can't play grown-up Anakin now. So yeah, I walked out of the theater really kind of like it. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I've kind of lived with it for the last couple hours. And I think it's not as dreary as I initially felt.
Thanks to Chris Hemsworth, there's an element of fun here, even though he's just
which doesn't exist in any of these Mad Max movies. They're anything but fun. Yeah. And what's interesting is that he uses the exact same setup, that prologue voiceover from Fury Road, to set you up on this one. And when you get through the movie and you sit through the credits, you see all key scenes from Fury Road.
Yeah.
So he is tying these two together.
So it opens with the green place that you're teased with in Fury Road. But and it's not so much a tragic moment when you just watch Fury Road, when they're driving through this blue Shadowland in Fury Road, and she doesn't realize that this is the green place that they're going through.
Is that the scene where the guys on the punchy sticks that look like they're right out of
because like the land is like mud, so they can't even walk in it. So then you've got these stilt people walking around. Yeah. So they don't realize that was the green place until after they're through it, and they meet the elders, those old women. It's more tragic when you actually see the thing and you see her kidnapped from it,
right? Knowing
that backstory. So it does pay to watch Fury Road before this, to be familiar. Valkyrie was her friend, so it's Furiosa and Valkyrie as maybe 9-10-year-old girls free ranging in this green place,
which is picking fruit or whatever.
Yep, which is like a nice little lush oasis in the middle of the desert.
It is a garden, yeah.
And they spy some motorcycle dudes who look like they're right from the 1982 Road Warrior. What were they doing? They weren't even like taking food.
No,
or
because
anything.
they were doing something weird that you couldn't really tell what they were like. Building a fire, like I don't know. I mean, you think the minute they came across it, they would have been running back to tell everybody, dude, you can't believe what we just found in the middle of the desert.
Maybe they were putting a plant in a shoe, like Wally. I don't know.
It could be. Wow. I have no idea. But anyways, she feels the need to sneak up and sabotage their bikes.
Yes.
By chewing the gasoline line.
Valkyrie runs back to tell the rest of the adults in the green place, and they're all like farmers and stuff, and there's like 2 warrior women that I guess guard the whole thing. And they immediately give chase to these 4 bikers because they take Furiosa as proof that this place exists.
Just take a plant. Just take one of the fruits.
And you don't know why they're taking her to begin with. They're just kidnapping her, this girl.
Well, you assume for nefarious purposes.
Yes.
You know, we do know about milkers and breeders and all that other stuff from Fury Road. So you're like,
and these women are straight from Wonder
Paradise
Woman's Island.
Yeah.
One of them is a sharpshooter. They take out on horseback. They're chasing the 4 motorcycles across the desert. They take out one of the motorcycles because she stops to shoot one of them, like from a great distance.
Yeah.
And then the one goes back to the green place because, again, you know, you've got to guard the green place. So it's like these 2 are the only ones that can fight. So,
but this place is completely like, we get an aerial shot of this, and it's just an oasis in the middle of the desert. How has no one else come across?
Yeah,
this?
and it kind of, there's all these buttes and stuff. It looks like the Citadel almost,
right?
You know?
Yeah,
so
correct.
It could be probably seen from a great distance. So, but anyway, I don't know if she's just like her symbolic mother. She just calls her mom.
I don't know. She kept, well, that was shocking when she did refer to her as mom, as mother. And I'm like, oh, that's her mother?
Well, it would make sense, you know,
right.
If she's a warrior, then, you know, Furiosa also has it ingrained in her. But
who's the father?
So Furiosa is, you know, even though she's tied up and she's put over the back of one of these motorcycles, she's still chewing the gas line on the motorcycle that she's on. So
these are not smart guys.
No, these are not smart guys. So by the time they make it back to camp, only one survives, the one that has Furiosa. So she's taken out the 3 other ones from a distance.
But they keep, where'd these come from? Where'd she come from? Where'd they go? Just follow the motorcycle tracks back. Like, why is this a secret? Point to where you came from. That way. We just came from that way. But yeah, that's what we're introduced to Hemsworth wearing his little teddy bear.
Dementus.
Dr. Dementus. There is a Weird Al joke in here somewhere that I just couldn't shoehorn in, but Dementus, yeah. If you survived the apocalypse, would you come up with a goofy name for yourself?
You have to, because you got the humongous from the Road Warrior, right? Yeah. They all have personal PA systems as well in all these
how's this
movies.
Happening? Yeah. Yeah. I do like Immortan Joe's 2 sons are Rictus and Scrotus. And I'm did you name them? But that's also, we're introduced to, I mean, we meet his son, the one son.
Well, only Rictus survives to make it to Fury Road.
Listen,
the idiot son, actually.
Yeah. I thought it was Rectum.
But Dementus, again, he has a herald, just like Humongous does in Road Warrior, somebody that announces his presence. And he also has like a really cool setup, like a 3 motorcycle chariot that he rides.
How does he drive in this thing?
Well, he's got the reins attached to all the handlebars.
But yeah.
So he can brake, he can accelerate.
It
just
doesn't really seem practical.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It looks pretty impressive.
And he's got a cape. So like the Thor comparisons are continue with the cape.
Well, especially when it turns red.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the mom is overtaken by the motorcycle gang, is tortured, but she will not give up the location of the green place. That's what they want to know, is where do you come from? She won't talk and she's tortured to death. And then Furiosa just goes mute for the first hour of the movie because she'll refuse to give it up. But rather than torture her, Dementus has a soft spot because it's, as you said, he carries around a teddy bear and he suggests that this belonged to his family, his daughters,
correct. His kids. Yeah.
So, you know,
so like they all have a tragic backstory at some point.
Yeah, you got like a Negan kind of thing going on here with Dementus, but although Negan was not as funny, so I had to have to say.
You didn't find him funny?
I didn't find him funny.
Bash your head in. Yeah.
So Dementus adopts her, Furiosa, as his own, and they kind of forget about the green place, but as the years go by.
Well, it's not only that, she escapes and like nobody missed her. She goes undercover as one of these minions, and nobody really seems to be able to connect the dots.
Because at some point, the reason they forget about the green place is that they come across in the wasteland as they're marauding or doing whatever it is that they do. They're probably nomads, right? They don't have like a home base. They come across a war dog that we are familiar with from Fury Road. One of these, the white painted guys with the shaved heads. And he's like just by himself in the middle of the wasteland with an arrow sticking out of his head.
Just a flesh wound.
And then the old man who's traveling around, who's like the living dictionary that's traveling around. So was that
everything
Dementis.
Tattooed on him was like the history?
I guess so. Yeah.
He was a walking, talking encyclopedia because they use it. He was like Jeeves. Ask Jeeves. You have a question?
That's job security right there in the wasteland.
Well, he tells her that at some point. Just make yourself invaluable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they'll never lose you.
And the other big thing is that Furiosa, before her mother passed, she gave Furiosa a seed so she could start the green place elsewhere.
It's just a dormant seed. It looked like a walnut, like a peach pit.
And it's kind of wasted because this was probably the one retrofit that they weren't thinking of. And you don't see this in Fury Road, do you?
No, and she hides it in her hair. And it's like, you never want to lose that. And then she'll stuff it into her cheeks during the action sequences. And I'm like, boy, you get smacked in the face. That's going to leave a scar. Mm-hmm. That's going to hurt.
So this is a great scene. So after the war dog gets picked up by Dementis, they, of course, think that the war dog has come from this green place that Furiosa comes from. It's not the case, although, close. No cigar, but close. The war dog leads them to the Citadel. And these war dogs are just so stupid. They're so gullible and almost lovable in a way. These, because Goofies, you got Nux from the Fury Road, right?
Yeah. Played by Nicholas Hoult, by the way.
Yes, yeah. Who unfortunately you don't see here. He would have been just a little kid, though. They would have had to recast him as well.
Yeah.
A war pup, as they're referred to when they're small. But this war dog leads all Dementis and all his guys right into the Citadel. And there's a great scene because Dementis has his personal PA. So he's talking to the people of the Citadel like, your leaders don't care about you. If I lead, I'll give you unlimited water, unlimited food.
Is right. Yeah. They're all laughing at him.
Probably just what Immorta Joe said before he took over the Citadel.
Correct.
And then Immorta Joe comes out.
And they're like laughing at him. They're like scoffing at him. Yeah.
So there's a skirmish. There's a battle between the war dogs and Dementis's people, and it doesn't go well for them. They turn tail and run once they realize very quickly that they are outmatched here in the Citadel. So it is unsuccessful, and that kind of sets the stage for what happens to Dementis throughout this movie. He is just, I don't want to say a failure, but I guess he is.
Yeah, I'm gonna say because every place, like he has these battle plans, and they never seem to go exactly as he envisions.
So he's chased away from the Citadel, right, during this initial skirmish, but he doesn't go away. He just stays around the periphery and like he makes a nuisance of himself, apparently, because as we know in Fury Road, we have the Citadel, we have Gastown, and we have the Bullet Farm. So they're all like, they all sustain each other. Like they'll trade food for bullets, bullets for food, gas for food, gas for bullets, da-da-da-da. Hemsworth manages to rig Gastown to explode, and he holds it hostage. He arrives at the Citadel and wants a meeting with Immorta Joe. So they negotiate, right? So Gastown doesn't blow up, and that's where Joe sees Furiosa because he has her with him for some reason. And Joe wants Furiosa. So Hemsworth agrees, and then he becomes the leader of Gastown. I'm not quite sure what happens from there.
Right. It is a little questionable because then later he's trying to renegotiate some other, I don't know.
And he's got the kill switch attached to his nipples. I'm like, how is that going to stop them? So this is how Immorta Joe gets Furiosa.
She becomes because she ends up with the rest of those women that we're introduced to.
Yes, because he says that when she grows, she'll be a bride. She'll be one of my brides.
So he just sees her as any woman out in the desert is a port in the storm. Whether she's a milker or she actually produces babies. But she escapes pretty quickly and no one seems to care. He doesn't miss her.
No, they don't look for her either. Yeah, she doesn't leave the Citadel. She cuts off her hair, masquerades as a boy, which is never convincing, like in any of these
No.
movies where a
Yeah.
girl does that. Masquerades as a boy and she starts working with the pit crew on the vehicles.
Yeah.
Down in the garage, right?
She doesn't speak. She's mute. And no one looks at her and thinks, huh, that's Hilary Swank. That's a girl.
Yeah. And at this point, the younger actress has transitioned fully to Anya Taylor-Joy, now playing Furiosa, because there's a very Mad Max-ish driver that Immorta Joe uses, and they're building a super war rig to carry like the most food, the most gas, and that's the most fortified. And he wants this special, expert driver to drive it in between the three fortresses in the wasteland. Yeah, there's a very long action sequence where some of Hemsworth's rogue men try to stop the truck, and she helps to defend it. And in the course of it, she's revealed to be a girl because her hood comes off and all of her hair is flowing. I'm like, if you were really serious about masquerading, wouldn't you keep cutting your hair?
Right, correct. Because we get the head shave thing twice in this movie. But long sequences where it grows back.
Yeah, but anyway,
just keep shaving it.
He realizes her potential and he protects her from that point on and makes her part of his permanent road crew. And this guy has a lot of clout because he's like the best driver in the Citadel. So from that point on, she's driving with him, and then she uses that as a means to an end to get back to the green place, because that's even in this movie, that's all she really wants to do.
Right.
Yeah. But to get there, you go through at least two very lengthy chase sequences that are kind of ripped right, very reminiscent of what was going on in the 82 Road Warrior, probably more so than what was going on in Fury Road.
I think it was actually a bit of a throwback. I agree with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and again, you've got Furiosa like driving the truck, climbing on the back of the truck, climbing under the truck, and fighting all these guys in weird get-ups
sequences.
So the end game for Furiosa in this movie is not only to eventually make it back to the green place, but to get her revenge on Chris Hemsworth's character. And by the end of the movie, Chris Hemsworth has not given up the idea of taking over Immorta Joe, because by the end of the movie, somehow, even though he is the worst ruler in the wasteland, he succeeds in taking over the bullet farm. So they actually get captured by Dementis, Chris Hemsworth, at the bullet farm during that whole lengthy battle. The war rig is destroyed. So really it's only them left of all the crew that came to the bullet farm. And then they found it taken over by Dementis. They put up a worthy fight, but he's captured them now. Doesn't recognize her at this point, even though her face isn't covered or anything.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
And this is where her arm gets mangled. It gets mangled during the chase, during the action. And then when they finally capture Jack and Furiosa, they have them strung up. And as they're torturing Jack, she chews through her arm or cuts her arm off.
I'm going to say right now. So you've got, she's tied by her mangled arm to the back of the tow truck and is literally dangling. You've got one bike dragging poor Jack in circles around her. And then further out are probably 40 to 50 bikes circling around them. And it appears like it goes on for hours. And then finally, Dementis is like, all right, enough. And they walk around the back of the truck and all I see is her dangling arm.
So nobody saw it.
So she chewed off her own arm, and you can only assume that because we saw her chew through the gas lines on the motorcycle twice, made it past the motorcycle, dragging her boyfriend and the 40 plus bikes driving in a circle. Nobody saw her.
Nope, nobody did.
That makes no sense. Mm-hmm. That right there was like, wait, what?
So here's this from one nonsensical scene into another. She's dragging herself across the desert with one arm, and it's not like she would be difficult to catch up with from Dementis if they so chose to chase her, but they don't. She's dragging herself across the desert with one arm to get back to the Citadel because she's the only survivor of
she would have bled out.
Yeah, of this Bullet Town massacre.
Because we
And
already saw the dogs following them earlier, sniffing the blood in the
yeah,
sands. So you've already laid the groundwork of how you can track her. You could have got that far ahead of you.
she does, and she is spied by a lone driver on a bluff way above her. And what he is driving appears to be the same V8 that Mad Max has driven in all of the previous movies almost. There's just like a lone figure, and you only see him from behind watching her with binoculars. And then you see, like in a very dreamlike sequence, somebody dragging her across the desert, and she wakes up in the Citadel. So are we to believe that Mad Max brought her to the Citadel? So he's been there before, Fury Road.
Oh, I didn't buy that. I didn't see that. It was because it's the exact same shot that were introduced to him in Fury Road.
Right. So what else are you supposed to think? He sees her dragging herself across the desert. The next thing you see somebody dragging her.
I didn't make that connection. I thought it was the old lady that dragged her in there to
No, I don't.
get some maggots on her. Because
I don't think anybody else was out there except
we
him.
did get a. I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Then she wakes up and she in this like death chamber with the old lady and the maggots, and
Yeah.
she says, "Oh, just relax." So I don't know.
Maggots eat flesh?
I don't think that she was there to recuperate. I think that was just like a morgue of sorts.
If that's the case, then he never once in Fury Road makes reference to the fact that he recognizes her.
No, and
How many
why
shaved
wouldn't
head black spray painted one-armed women are out there in the wasteland?
And if he attempted to even make it into the Citadel, he would just become a blood bag. They would take him. They wouldn't let him go.
Yeah, I don't know. I missed that completely.
So yeah, I'm not really sure what happened myself, but I thought that Max saved her and brought her to the rest of the way to the Citadel.
All I could think when I found out that it's not even Tom Hardy, I just saw that Spaceball scene. You idiots! You captured their stunt doubles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
maybe they took the stunt double.
So from this point on, she becomes Tony Stark. She fashions a metal arm for herself, which
all while they're now mounting this attack. And I'm just like, okay. Yeah, it's a nice little sequence where she's building the arm out. But you're right. It's like, all right. And then we get the little voiceover that we're now introduced to the 40-day wasteland wars or something.
Yes. So Dementus, even as inept as he is, manages to fight them for 40 days with these men that don't even listen to him. So I don't know how that works. But this is why Furiosa is like Immorta Joe's number one girl in Fury Road, is because she's survived all this stuff and come back to him. So he thinks she's completely loyal.
Yeah.
And this is why he's so upset with her in Fury Road when she runs off. But no, it's all she's playing the long con here in Furiosa.
And it is a long con because I think in Fury Road she mentions that she'd been gone 7,000 days when she finally sees the women again. Yeah. And that's like what, 19, 20 years.
So she fashions this metal arm. She makes it back out into the wasteland, into the fray, into the 40-year battle, and chases down Chris Hemsworth because she's got to have that retribution, that one-on-one scene, and she's got it. And he finally recognizes her because he still has that teddy bear, because she had it for a while when she was his prisoner.
He gave it to her. Yeah. Yep.
But she takes the teddy bear off of his belt, and then he realizes that it's Little D, he calls her. Little Dementus, I guess. I don't know.
Dementus, yeah. He's like,
now I understand.
Oh, yeah, I get it. No, it wasn't hope that drove you here.
So yeah, she takes care of Dementus. So exit Chris Hemsworth from the
we're told that there, like we were shown, there may be numerous ways that she took him out. Rumors and stories.
But yeah, it's gone into legend. It's gone into legend.
Shot him in the head, or she hung him on the tree like her mother was, or that his withering body is somewhere in, I don't know, the Citadel with a tree growing through it.
But I think that was more of the truth, where maybe she made him swallow the seed.
Oh, the seed! Like your mother used to always yell at you, don't eat those watermelon seeds.
Exactly.
Oh, that's really
because before that end sequence,
I didn't pick up on that.
She takes the seed out again and puts it in her mouth, like so she's keeping it safe.
Yeah.
So
moist. She's actually keeping it moist.
But I have a problem with that. So yeah, it's a great visual. Like back, one of the final scenes of the movie is you're back into the bride's chambers in
Yep.
Omorta Joe's, and the camera pans off to the side in another room, and you see this tree growing out of a human body, a dead human
Yes.
body.
I thought he was still alive.
Maybe he was. Maybe he was
there a little bit.
So this is Dementus, right? So it's by showing it to you, you're kind of thinking, okay, this is what really happened to him. But why would she waste the seed on him if she was meant to keep it to make another green place?
I don't know. This is the motivation that kept her going.
So as you said, the movie comes full circle because then you're treated to a number of scenes from Fury Road, because right from the end of this movie, Furiosa starts her plan to take the brides away and to find the green.
Yeah, and we see that they either had a second truck or they built it.
Because you actually see, you never saw this in Fury Road, and these were new scenes filmed. You see her sneaking them into that little compartment, under the truck. Yeah. And you see all the brides from behind, because again, they don't have the same actors. Right. Zoe Kravitz and Riley Coe. And did you realize that the redhead from Fury Road is the female Bigfoot from
No, I did not.
Sasquatch Sunset?
No, I did not. I did not recognize
Same girl.
I did. One of them is Hemsworth's wife, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I did not know.
Elsa Pataki, who is his wife, is in there somewhere. I don't know who she played.
But there you go. So it's a revenge story in the wasteland, basically. Yeah. Too much? Do you think, what was your issue? What was your disappointment on leaving?
My expectations were high because Fury Road is so unique and such a wildly it's sensory overload. It's way too long, this movie. There are sequences, like you mentioned, that just go on way too long. Like I said, if you're going to go in and think you're watching another Fury Road, it's not. And I initially felt that was a detriment, but now I think if he just repeated himself, it probably would have been very repetitive watching it. I don't know. I liked it. I just didn't love it.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out why I thought this movie was too much, and I didn't think that Fury Road was too much.
Fury Road is like it's an assault of the senses.
Yeah, and I think I think that the action in Furiosa is maybe a little bit too fragmented. It's not from point A to point B. Like Fury Road is almost like, they're on a quest. It's a chase movie. Yeah. They're trying to get somewhere, like Cannonball Run or any movie like that you're with them and want to see them get to the end point. It's a chase here going from the Citadel to Bullet Farm. And then 15 minutes later, it's a chase here going from Bullet Farm to this other place. So they're not on like one journey, She is on, there's an overarching, but the action itself is fragmented. And you don't have that with Fury Road.
Like that 10, 12, 15-year window.
Right.
That really kind of
Fury Road, almost it can fool you into thinking, it's almost like real time. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I feel that maybe Miller got ahead of himself because he created all this backstory. And you just mentioned Phantom Menace, just because you had this idea of how she got from point A to point B doesn't mean I need to see every step of the way. I don't need to be, here's how she lost her arm. Here's like, listen, you got top-notch cast going on here. You mentioned it before. I really think that Hemsworth does a fantastic job of just bringing something different to this world that we haven't really seen before. He's a bit of a doof. And then when he gets right down to it, when it's just the two of them, like he kind of reveals himself and he's like, we're all the same. We were all thrust into this world and we have to become whatever we need to become. I lost things too, and so that makes him, to me, at least sympathetic in a certain regard that you got to do. Listen, if we were all thrust into this world, you're going to have to step up and either be a minion or try to be the leader. I would say, by all means, if you like Fury Road, go see this, but don't expect Fury Road.
Yeah.
It is a continuation of this world. And I would like to think, because there are talks now, Miller wants to expand this world, and maybe you would get a movie about Nuck, or, there's talk of a sequel with Tom Hardy, Mad Max, The Wasteland, I think is what they're referring to it as. Maybe make each one completely different.
Mad Max Fury Road was an out-of-the-box success, critically with audiences and at the box office. It made like almost 400 million on 185 budget. So hit. This, not so much, but again, these are different times than what Mad Max was released to. For an R-rated action movie, after COVID, I don't know if you're going to get the numbers that Fury Road did, and it is not performing as well as they thought. On a 168 million budget, it's so far in its first Memorial Day weekend has done about 60 million.
Yeah.
So not even halfway there to its budget. Yeah.
But I think we said the same thing about the Fall Guy, that it was below expectations. It's opening week, but the second week was higher grossing than the first week.
But then again, the Fall Guy, that was the subject of our last show. That's already streaming. You can already get it on streaming.
And that's, I think, the world we live in now, which is there's a lot of people who, well, you know what? Yeah, a couple of weeks I could sit at home and watch this. My 75-inch television with surround sound.
Who knows? By the time our next episode comes out, this might be on Max already. Who knows?
It may. I mean, I don't know. I will say this, because it went up against Garfield. And did Garfield win the box office, or was it just below? Garfield actually far exceeded expectations for a cartoon comic strip character that's been around since the 80s. This came out of nowhere, but I feel that Garfield missed a huge opportunity to do a spoof on this movie trailer called Furiosa.
Garfield did outperform Furiosa. It made 98.2 million in its opening weekend.
And that's another Chris Pratt, right? Is Chris Pratt playing?
Yes, he is. He is cornering the market on these animated characters, let me tell you.
Hey, listen, laugh all the way to the bank. Oh, speaking of which, on the cruise ship, there was a guy with a Guardians of the Galaxy shirt that I can only assume he got in Disney. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, I'm like, dude, that shirt rocks.
Did he only wear that? Was he wearing it every day?
I saw him multiple times throughout that day, and he was wearing that one shirt. So
did he have a giant net on a rope and he was doing his laundry in the ocean every morning?
He was not doing it. Not that I saw. Doesn't mean he didn't do it. I also read that there was at one point an anime style prequel in development called The Peach, which I'm assuming had to do with the seed. You think he would have pooped it out long before it ever started growing.
Hey, it was big. I don't think it could have made it.
It's been there. I don't know. You mean
it was a big seed. Itself. It was a big seed. Yeah. Also, I just wanted to point out that a lot of buzz started for this movie a few weeks before its release because it got like a 7-minute standing O at the Cannes Film Festival. But people have joked that anything at the Cannes Film Festival will get a 7-minute standing O. And somebody on Twitter, this made me laugh out loud, said, just in, the old Regal movie quote commercial just got a 10-minute standing O at the Cannes Film Festival.
Regal.
And it had a photo of the Zach Galifianakis lookalike with
no. Yes. I was very disappointed to hear again in the buzz leading up to this movie that Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron had issues.
Yeah, they've actually written an entire book about this, about the making of Fury Road and these issues.
I guess it's just different acting styles.
Yes, and apparently they by the end of the shoot they buried the hatchet.
This is like the bands that they're together too long.
But well, you think about it this way: is that it works. Whatever you need to do to get the relationship on screen, right, where you want it to be, and that's needed to be a fractious relationship.
Yeah.
Spielberg, is that a word? Fractious?
It is now. It is now. Yeah. In the apocalypse, it is a word. Yes.
That's going to be my villain name, Fractitious.
I love it. That's scary.
I need to get a PA system now.
Yes. This is Fractitious. Bow before me.
So, all right, let's cut to the chase. What kind of buckets would we give
Cut to
Furiosa?
the chase. As I said, I liked it. I didn't love it. It just falls a little short for me, but maybe I just need a little more time. I'm going to go 3.5.
I will match you with 3.5. I loved Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she did a fantastic job.
Yeah, she really is. The camera loves her, and we've seen her really kind of skyrocket here in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, and I think even when Charlize Theron heard that she was being replaced, she was like, all right, well, at least that character's in good hands.
Right.
So,
But I also still want to know from both movies is how she has an American accent.
there are
'Cause
numerous characters throughout this that, because it all takes place in Australia.
Yes. And as a girl, she has an Australian accent.
Oh, the little one, then she loses it.
Then she loses it.
She's only got 30 lines of dialogue in this entire movie. So, which is probably more than what Mad Max had in the first one.
But let me tell you that Anya Taylor-Joy sounds just like Charlize Theron when she's delivering her dialogue. Yeah. Having just watched Fury Road, I'm like, if I were to close my eyes, I would think that was Charlize Theron.
Yeah, and there's that one scene where he leaves her on the road, and then she leaves out that guttural scream, which is pretty spot on to what Charlize's scream is in Fury Road when she finds out that the green place is gone. And I guess she had to fight for that from Miller.
And of course, Hemsworth again, just chewing up the scenery here.
Yeah, the nose, the prosthetic nose is just it's seamless, and he's put it on just enough of a weird Australian accent that he doesn't. It's not Thor, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and maybe that was just a plastic nose making him a little more nasally, but it worked.
It worked. Yeah, it worked.
It worked.
So yeah, compared to the 5 bucket splendor of Fury Road, 3.5 is not a bad grade. It's got action galore. It's got great performances. Just not that 5 bucket.
Yep. Temper your expectations.
Yeah. All right. Did you have time to sample anything at the concession stand for this week?
I did indeed.
You did?
I do. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, I have not had one of these in years. But I could only think of one confectionery treat that's durable enough to survive the apocalyptic wasteland. So we are going to be talking about Hostess Twinkies.
Oh, I thought you were going to go liquid when you said that.
Okay.
Because we've often heard that Yoo-hoo will survive anything.
Well, there's a fair amount of urban legend that surrounds this treat.
Okay.
So we're going to get into it a little bit. So the history, Twinkies were first introduced in 1930 by the Continental Baking Company out of Illinois, home of Wonder Bread.
And so when did Hostess exist in the
1930s? I don't know when Hostess. I know that Hostess took them over at a certain point, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So April 6th, to be exact. So happy 94th birthday to Twinkies. And basically, they were created because this Continental Baking Company had these little strawberry shortbread pans that they used to make this strawberry treat. And when strawberries were out of season, they did not use the pans. So one of the bakers decided to create this banana cream filled cake using these short pans, and Twinkies were born. So initially, they were filled with banana flavor. And what happened was during World War II, banana imports all but ceased. So now they're forced to switch the banana cream to a vanilla. And the Twinkies, as we know it, was born.
What were they called when they were banana treats?
They were called Twinkies. And so apparently the name is inspired from a billboard that was across from the bakery for twinkle toe shoes. And there seems to be some dispute over whether the Twinkies were named because it resembled the shoes or that he just liked the name Twinkle. So, but anyways, right out of the gate, they were known as Twinkies. As you mentioned, Hostess purchased the Continental Baking Company. I don't have a year for that, but it was it looks like it was right toward the tail end of World War II, so maybe 45. And they took off in popularity because they started advertising on kids' television, namely the Howdy Doody show.
That's what you got to do.
So, captured audience, bunch of kids, late 40s, early 50s. You drop a promo in there for Twinkies. Hey, kids, Howdy Doody loves Twinkies. And next thing you know, this was gangbusters right out of the gate. People were like all over this stuff.
Suddenly, kids had them up each nostril, Twinkies.
I don't know about that. I don't know what they went for price wise, so I don't know if parents would be allowing these kids to shove them up their nostrils. So, and they were actually a staple of bomb shelter pantries throughout the world in the 60s because rumors persisted, and as far as I know, really early on, that these things were only produced once, and that every Twinkie you purchase in a store is just from a vast warehouse from the original production back in the 30s. There's urban legends that they're injected with embalming fluid, which gives them their longevity.
I have heard that. Yes, I have heard that.
There's an urban legend that the shelf life is longer than the cellophane it's wrapped in, which just seems insane. And that they remain edible from anywhere between 50 and 100 years.
Well, having said that, is the recipe the same as it was back in those early days?
So apparently, right from the get-go, it's like one of their most unnatural ingredients is polysorbate 60. They say an open Twinkie will last about 25 days. But there is a known specimen that has survived for 46 years. Now, is that edible?
I doubt it.
Does somebody take a bite of it every couple years? It just seems really bizarre.
It's probably stiff or moldy. I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
Or is it forever moist? That would be worth investigating.
Well, that's what someone in the far-flung flew you. Well, so bring up pop culture references, which is these were in fact a highly sought-after treat in Zombieland by Wichita.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, Egon referenced the Twinkie as a starting point to his psychokinetic energy output. In 1999, President Bill Clinton included a Twinkie in the National Millennium Time Capsule as an icon of American food culture.
You see, I have never been a fan of the Twinkie. Ever. Not even as a kid. It's got a weird, almost artificial taste to it. It's got a weird aftertaste to it.
I agree with that.
My baked items, especially Hostess, need to be chocolate.
So like ding dongs.
Ding dongs, devil dogs, stuff like that. Yeah. Suzy Q's.
Oh, the Hostess
cupcakes, yes.
The cupcakes with the little swirly white thing on
Oh,
the top.
You know what I loved? We're not Hostess, but my favorite pre-boxed baked item was the Tasty Cake. I loved Tasty Cakes.
Yes. Do they still make Tasty Cakes?
They do. As with Little Debbie's, the redheaded stepchild of the pre-baked items.
I used to love the little pies, and the blueberries were always my go-to. And blueberry pies, they're really hard to come by. You can still find apple and cherry and lemon, but the blueberries are few and far between. I don't know if that I'm not alone and people are just scarfing them up by the time I get there, but the blueberry pies are hard to find. And they had like a really, almost like a glazed donut on the...
yes, they did. White. Those were good. Those were very good.
Yes. November 16th, 2012. Hostess filed Chapter 11.
What?
And the great cream-filled sponge cake run of 2012 began. You don't remember this?
No.
Hostess filed Chapter 11. So Hostess shuttered down, losing 18,500 jobs across 33 factories. Overnight, boom, that's it, we're done. Anything left in our inventory is being sold off. We are not making any more Twinkies. And this is what we refer to as the snack apocalypse, because people went into full-on panic mode, including my son, who suddenly realized that he could no longer get Twinkies. And overnight, boxes of Twinkies went through the roof on eBay. There is a known sale on eBay a box of 10, which is your standard box of 10 that normally retail for $4.29, went for $59.99.
Wow.
I actually went on eBay yesterday, and there is an eBay listing for an antique unopened case of Twinkies with a buy it now start bid of $3,200, which just seems insane. But if you believe the fact that they will last a millennia, then it's still good.
Ooh, you can keep them. I wouldn't pay $5 for a box of Twinkies.
It's crazy. Well, what if you knew that they were, well, you said you didn't like them.
No.
Let's say your favorite treat went off the market and you knew you were never going to get it again. Stock up inventory and sit on it, knowing that it has a shelf life of 25 years?
Or just accept it. Probably. Yeah. That's what I would have to do.
Well, thankfully, in late 2013, the Smucker's company acquired Hostess.
Oh, all right. So
it was a cash and stock deal, $5.6 billion, thus saving Twinkies from extinction.
Yeah, this is a story I am
so
unfamiliar
all
with.
these people who paid $60 for a box less than a year later can now go back to the grocery store and buy it for $5.
So is this the status quo? Smucker's at this point in time still owns it.
So they own Hostess. So all the Hostess brand food is still branded Hostess, but it is owned by the J.M. Smucker company. And today, average Americans buy more than 500 million Twinkies every year. Deep fried, you ever had a deep fried Twinkie?
No. I don't think that would make it any better.
I have not, but I do know, like, when you go to like the state fair or the county fair, like those are staples right up there with the Snickers bar and all the other, I don't know.
You know what I really like, actually, and it's kind of like a mutant Twinkie, is the Chocodile.
Yes.
I don't know if that was Hostess or not, but it was it was a chocolate covered Twinkie. I don't know if it was the same because it didn't taste like a Twinkie on the inside.
Right.
But that's the closest I've come to a Twinkie.
You know, it's funny you mentioned it. You're right, because it does have a very plasticky aftertaste.
It does.
Yeah. So, I guess over the years they have filled them with fruit flavors, and they went back to banana and chocolate, but the vanilla is the staple. It is the go-to. Do you know the name of the Twinkie mascot?
He's a Twinkie with a cowboy hat and a lasso.
He's a Twinkie with a cowboy hat.
Does he have a name other than Twinkie?
He does have a name. He does have a name.
What is it?
Twinkie the Kid.
Okay.
So he was introduced in 1971, and for a very, very brief moment in time, he was retired from 1988 to 1990. And the only reason he was brought back, you can thank to a 13-year-old kid from New Jersey who started a petition and boycott against Hostess to bring back Twinkie the Kid. He started a Save the Twinkie the Kid Foundation. So they did a write-in letter campaign and successfully got Twinkie the Kid back on the box.
Oh.
This kid was even invited to like the factory and got a big lunch with Twinkie the Kid.
Did they fool him just like Willy Wonka did at the end of the day?
No,
he get nothing.
He fooled them because they thought that it was all being orchestrated by some college kid. And it was a 13-year-old kid who was just like, I want my Twinkie the Kid.
Well, that would have been, I think, more successful if they knew it was a kid, right? Because then they can't say no to a kid.
Right, correct, yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, Twinkie the Kid for a brief moment in time was kicked to the sidelines. Oh, I got one more fun fact. Pop culture reference. 1979, while on trail for murder, Dan White claimed that his mental capacity had been diminished by overindulging in junk food like Twinkies. This is now known as the Twinkie defense in the world of court. And his sentence was bargained down to manslaughter. So apparently somebody bought into it that he was eating too much junk food and thus corrupted his brain. Twinkie defense. Get on it. So there you go. There's a brief history of Twinkies. And maybe in the next Fury Road, we will see Mad Max chomping down on one.
Yeah, or maybe he'll just have like a box of them in the back of the V8 and you just see it briefly as an Easter egg.
Actually, I would love to see it if Twinkie the Kid existed as a mutant.
All right, so let's go back to the theater. 1985, the summer of 1985. The big hit then, of course, Jeff,
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future came out in July.
This came out a month previous. No, it did come out in July. So they were
Wow.
in theaters the same month.
Huh.
Red Sonja.
Okay. Sonja.
Sonja?
Sonja. Dino De Laurentiis, who we shouldn't know this guy's name, and yet he is so synonymous with some of the crappiest, funnest movies growing up.
And some of the best.
Well, so we're diverge our conversation for just a little bit. We were doing a cave spelunking, and we had a guide, and he was spouting out little fun stuff or whatever throughout, little did you know facts about Bermuda. And he brings up King Kong, and he goes, do you remember in the first King Kong when the girl's in the log and the big bugs are chasing her? And I'm like, excuse me? Are you talking about the 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong? He goes, yeah. I said, King Kong's been around since 1933. And he was just like, oh, you're going to be one of those guys? And I'm like, yes, the first King Kong. Stop yourself. So after that, I was just like, dude. I also did see the little cave inside a cave that was supposedly the direct influence of Jim Henson coming up with Fraggle Rock.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently he had quite the epiphany aha moment and actually was jumping around and came up with the Fraggle Rock because of this little mini cave within a cave.
Did this guy know that too?
That was his fun fact. And I actually, I stepped on his, we did not get along because he was setting up all these jokes. And listen, it's his show, but he was like, Jim Henson, he created all these shows. And I'm like, Fraggle Rock. And he goes, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to shut up now. So
were you heckling him too?
I wasn't heckling him. I was just
like from the back of the crowd.
Apparently,
you suck.
I was like, oh, Statler and Waldorf. I'm just sitting in the back over on the hill.
Yeah.
So anyways, Dino De Laurentiis.
Yes,
producer.
That's where I was going, actually.
Sorry. Yeah, Kong. I know. Boy, I went off on a tangent with that one. 1976, King Kong, Orca.
Yes, Orca, the original Conan, the Barbarian.
Conan, who is in this movie, but we can't call him Conan.
Which seems so ridiculous to me because it's the same producer who made two Conan movies immediately previous to this, and somehow they don't have the rights to use the name.
I didn't understand that.
No.
I still don't understand that. But yes, so he is referred to as Calidor.
Yes, and as I said before, some Conan fans have said that Conan has used traveling names in some of the lore.
I think they're going out of their way to try, because Gandalf did the same thing, right? In the books. All right, well, when he's incognito. Okay. Although
this character seems a bit more well-to-do and intelligent than Conan was.
Correct. Yeah.
Like he's, a mercenary still, which you would imagine Conan would turn into at some point before he becomes king, but still, it's not. I don't think Arnold is knowingly playing Conan either.
He barely knew he was going to be in this movie as much as he did.
Right.
He was, but it is the same universe. This is Hyborian.
The Hyborian Age.
Right. Which is where we're introduced to Conan.
Yeah.
Created by Robert E. Howard, this character.
For the comics, as we said earlier.
Right. And unfortunately, he also created Conan.
So wait a second. So Red Sonja was not created for the comic books, is what you're saying.
It is. Unfortunately, Robert E. Howard gets credit for it, but they tend to omit the writer, Roy Thomas, and the illustrator, Barry Windsor Smith. But she was created in 1973 specifically for the Conan comic books, based on characters created by Robert E. Howard. So he created this whole Hyborian universe or whatever, and I guess that this Red Sonja came out of that, so he gets credit.
No wonder this is failed from the get-go. This is so confusing, even its history. But yeah, you get an opening crawl that Red Sonja's search for justice has become legend in the Hyborian Age.
Yeah, here we go, another hot female revenge flick.
Yeah, and it's not unlike the Conan the Barbarian story either. Her in this case it's her house. It's not a village, but house gets burned down by an evil queen rather than James Earl Jones's cult leader.
He looked very queen-like with that hair, though.
Queen Gedrin, played by Sandal Bergman.
Now, was she like lusting after Red Sonja?
She was. And when she was rejected, when she was rejected, she let her men have Red Sonja.
So we start this movie with a rape scene.
Well, we thankfully don't really. It's
enough. I put in my notes. Did they rape her?
It's not shown, it's vague,
largely implied.
It's implied. So
but
thankfully we didn't, or it would have been rated R if it wasn't.
So, but she's saved and given strength by this blue fairy.
Yes, so, out of nowhere.
And we never see her again.
Right.
Is this the same blue fairy that brought Pinocchio to life?
I think it was.
That would have been fantastic.
What the blue fairy granted her was a great sword arm. That's what is said.
Okay.
She just needs a sword now. She didn't give her a sword. She gave her a great sword arm.
No, she just gave her a big arm. Just one giant.
Yeah.
Lopsided
like
monster He-Man arm.
Like the Skrull at the end of the Secret Skrull Wars. Yeah. Amelia Clark. And then so that's your prologue, right? So we've set up a revenge tale for Red Sonja, but we have Arnold on horseback over the credits, a very long credit scene, a very long horseback scene.
Yes, very long horseback scene. I will say he's the only main actor who did all his own stunts.
He's only supposed to film for a week. Suddenly he was there for 4 weeks. And
can I go
doing
now?
His own stunts. Yeah.
Can I go? So was he already married to Maria Shriver?
I don't know.
Because I read a quote. She said when they saw the premiere of this movie, she said there's a good chance you're never going to work again after she saw this movie. If it doesn't kill your career, nothing will. That was her direct quote.
But he's riding to this chamber of priestesses who are about to destroy a talisman that has become too powerful. So they say the talisman has created the world and is about to destroy it. So they have to do away with this talisman.
How are you going to do away with it? Just bury it. You're just burying it in a hole.
And because Arnold is, I don't know why, but he had to witness the destruction of the talisman, and that's why he was late. But the bridge was out. So, he had a reason for being late.
Well, he couldn't touch it. Only the women could touch the giant ball.
This fucking bridge. Come on.
Come on. Sir, it's a toll bridge. I'm sorry. I got no change. Cut up. I'll be back. That'll be back.
The very same queen, Sandal Bergman, who we see killing the family of Red Sonja in the beginning, shows up to steal the talisman because she does not heed their warning that it's about to consume everything. She is just power hungry and wants it all for herself. Now, here's my first question of this. Actually, it wasn't my first, but it was one of many.
Okay.
It's established that one of these priestesses is Sonja's sister. How is that possible if her family was killed?
Was that established? Because I'm like 20 minutes into this movie. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not her. No, it was this other girl, Varna.
Arnold, when he meets Sonja, tells her, I brought your sister. He says that it's her sister.
But that's after this whole sequence where he saves her. I thought it was her. I didn't recognize.
No, it wasn't her. It was
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, wait, what? That's not even her. I've been watching this for the last 20 minutes, and it's not even her. Just because they have red hair, so I guess I just confused the two.
A few of these priestesses are actually still alive, just moaning. They've been disemboweled, but still alive.
Well, he shoved them all down in a hole, and then it's like the slowest moving pedestal ever. Close it up.
And you hear them
plenty of time to crawl out.
You might as well have Will Ferrell down there.
Oh, I'm just gonna bring that up. Hello, I'm still alive down here. Oh, I'm in such pain. Oh, I'm on fire now. Oh, close the gate.
So Sonja's sister escapes. She's one of the priestesses somehow. She escapes, and then she gets on that big zip line across the chasm, and she gets shot with the arrow, like in the middle of the zip line.
And he just happens to be waiting at the other end.
Right. Arnold is waiting at the other end.
Because if he had made it across the bridge, he never would have been there in time.
No.
Yep. And then he brings her to her. And right. So then we see Red Sonja, and she's like apparently some grandmaster now that's been trained by this Asian dude.
Maybe the blue fairy gave him like the heads up. Hey, she's got the greatest sword arm in the world.
Man. Yeah.
Yep. You got to train her. And there's this squatting like warrior Buddha that's like at the entrance of this encampment that they have to ride through his legs to get in and out.
Don't touch the ball. Don't touch the
Mhm.
giant ball.
And even the Grandmaster is like misogynistic. Sonja, you must learn to like men a little better. And would it hurt if you smiled once in a while?
I know, right? And shave those legs. Yeah, she's like the founding member of the original She-Woman's Man-Haters Club.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't need a man. That was the queen who screwed your family.
So the Grandmaster, at the end of her training, gives her her sword, to go off and have adventures with.
So this is like Harry Potter, where the sword calls to her.
Yeah, it's kind of like the sorting sword, right?
Right.
And so she meets Arnold. Your sister's dying.
And we have 13 days before this talisman is going to unleash storms and earthquakes.
Yes, they have a timetable, so it is 13 days.
Yeah, we have 13 days, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get at it. And yet they waste a lot of those days. Since we're introduced to Prince Tarn.
Yes.
This obnoxious little kid that really needed to be backhanded.
So this is kind of going along the same path as Conan the Destroyer does, where there's this goofy band of
Yeah, they collect them as they go.
Yeah. And again, I'm not convinced that this is a kid. Another baby fenster situation here with this Prince Tarn.
Well, he was in, he's got some other creds. He was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Secret of the Ooze.
Oh, really?
And he was in The Rundown with The Rock. And he was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kid's got a resume.
Ernie Reyes Jr. Did you recognize Falcon, his butler?
I made a note that this guy was straight out of the Jack Elam School of Acting, first of all.
Well, you're looking at Paul Smith, Bluto from Popeye.
Oh.
Which is weird because he doesn't look anything like that character.
No.
But yeah, this kid, oh man, this kid needs to be taken down a peg.
Well, she does try to spank him at one point.
She does try to spank him, yes.
And this kid has been attacked by Queen Gedrin as well, because he had a kingdom which she decimated, and all he has left is his idiot manservant.
Yes. Oh, I like Falcon. He put up with a lot of that kid's crap. He was like the butler.
And so she asks how she can get to wherever the Queen's fortress is. Well, you can go the long way, or you can go the toll way.
Right.
But
Arnold's like, I have to change. Let's go the toll.
And so she refuses Arnold's help. Calidor wants to go with her and like, nope, I don't need a man's help.
Don't need a man.
But he follows close behind anyway. He doesn't tell her that he's got to be there to destroy the talisman. So he's got a vested interest in this journey anyway.
You think that would have helped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she makes it to Brytag's toll.
Right.
He's got a toll booth set up here. And you've got to pay him tribute in order to pass. And if you happen to be a woman that looks like Red Sonja, well, you know what that tribute has to be.
Yeah. Where'd she get that sultry negligee?
She's not having any of it. And then Calidor shows up to help her fight off Brytag and all of his goons.
Is this the guy with the pet spider?
No, the Queen has this pet spider.
Okay.
That was pretty cool. That looked like one of Witchy Poo's.
Yes,
henchmen.
yeah.
Seymour, yeah. Hey, Witchy Poo! Hey, Queen Gedra! And then we get a quick shot of Queen Gedrin again, and she's got the talisman in what can only be described as like the back room of a Christmas tree shop, because it's filled with candles and Christmas trees.
It's a lot of candles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who's lighting all these candles? By the end of this movie, there's a chamber that's just, it's like by the time you're done lighting the last one, you got to start all over again.
But even one of the henchmen says, "Do you think we have enough candles, Your Majesty?"
I don't know. Let's go ask Seymour the spider.
And they've got like a jumbotron, kind of like Witchy Poo does, although Witchy Poo had the telescope.
And did the guy accidentally turn on the porn channel? Like, what was that? He turns it on and there's a lady dancing like friggin' Grandpa Itchy's video from a holiday special.
She sees them approaching, right? And apparently this castle is like surrounded by like a lava moat and a chasm that you've got to cross over over the lava moat, and there's like this big brontosaurus skeleton that you've got to
it was like
cross over.
I thought we were in Hollow Earth for a minute. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, look at this. It was like a giant unicorn skeleton. Yeah, I'm going to say right now, the matte artists should get a lot more credit for this movie.
Yeah, it was nice. And because that effect, when you actually are looking at that skeleton from a distance and you see the little Brigitte Nielsen walking across, I'm like, this looks pretty damn good.
No, there was, I mean, I watched this on DVD from my library. So it wasn't super high end by any means, but visually there was some nice locales going on, you know, castle in the distance and stuff. And yeah, that's all matte painting art.
Yeah. And speaking of great effects, this next sequence is like far and away the highlight.
I don't remember this at all. And even I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. It's like riding a dragon coaster in Playland.
Yeah. So after they cross the bone bridge, they take shelter in a cave, and they go deep into the cave, and the prince sees like this, you know, this chamber with all this water in it, and he sees a big pearl in the mouth of a dragon statue, and he's trying to pry it out. And at the same time, the water is rising behind him, and he doesn't notice it. And
I thought by pulling the pearl out is what caused the water.
Oh, okay. So that could be. Regardless, he does get the pearl out of the mouth, and all of a sudden, all the water starts gushing into this chamber. And at the same time, the queen has set forth her mechanical monster, I think they call it.
He actually says it's a machine. I'm like, a machine? How do you even know what a machine is? I thought it was all made out of rock.
Right, or iron or something. Right. So it's like a robot reptilicus, basically, is what this thing is. And it's all practical. This giant thing is in the water with them, and Arnold is on its back, and it's turning over like an alligator. By the way,
so he was just following them the whole. I killed all those guys, and now I'm back. But no, this is actually a very, very impressive sequence where this thing's swimming around under the water.
Yeah, and it's like opening and closing. It's an amazing life-size puppet of some kind.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty impressive. But we kill it by gouging its eyes out.
But again, if it's a machine, can it actually see?
Right.
So,
and it was kind of screaming that
it
had no eyes. But then he had to be a jerk, and he's like, "You needed a man's help." And it's like, just rub it in. Now you know why I don't want them around.
So this is where he actually reveals that I have to be there when the talisman is destroyed. Yeah, okay. That's where I was going. Wasn't for the damn bridge. He comes on to her after he defeats, or they both defeat the machine. And she says to him, "No man can have me unless he beats me in a fair fight." So he's like, "Okay, let's go. Let's go then."
Which is, again, you got 4 days left and you're wasting it. On this. This is like foreplay, and this kid is a real C blocker. Mm-hmm. He just steps in there and throws cold water all over the whole scene.
What are you doing?
Mommy, why is Daddy on you?
Yeah, we're just practicing. So they fight until they are too tired to continue, and it's a draw.
Yeah, it goes on forever.
Yep.
It goes on forever. Like I said, they're wasting time. Just now you're exhausted. Now you need a nap.
Yep. So, but they can't nap because they only have 4 days. So they go to the castle.
And then all of a sudden, only 3 of them can go in.
Well, because they don't want the little kid to be in the way of danger. So they're like, you have a very important job. You've got to.
If one of them is going to get killed, it's going to be this kid. I would send him first. Annoying little brat. And where's Grace Jones and Will Chamberlain when you need them?
Right. But even the queen's men know that she's nuts now. Like, we can't have this thing around here. It's going to blow any second.
Right. Yeah. No. And chanting, there will be no world. There will be no world. All right. We get it.
So, of course, the kid makes his way in just to become like hostage fodder for.
And he's going to have to fight somebody. And this is where Ronald Lacey, who is Eichel, he was Tote in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was the Nazi toady that burned his hand with the.
I would have never put that together.
Yep, that is him.
So he was the queen's like high priest who wanted to get out of there.
Yep, and Breitog is Pat Roach, who was the big mechanic in Raiders of the Lost Ark that Indy had to fight, and he was also a thuggy warrior in Temple of Doom. And then we also had Terry Richards, who I'm not sure, but he was also in Raiders. So we have quite the Raiders alum.
But we get the obligatory sword fight between Red Sonja and the Queen.
Yeah, this is like right out of a Errol Flynn's Robin Hood, where they're like flipping the table and they're,
And there's, for a PG-13, it does have a couple of decapitations.
I know, a disarmament and not a single Arnold. I disarmed him. Seriously? No?
And both decapitations one is Arnold does it towards the beginning of the movie. And the other one, Red Sonja does it, in this final fight scene. And they both, before they do it, look in the camera with crazed eyes and like swing their sword at the camera. And then the next thing you see is the head thrown up in the air like little rascals.
I'm going to say, right? Is that really how it happens when you cut someone's head off? It flies in the air. Yeah, but this set is pretty impressive. This whole set piece is actually very impressive. So I was like, wow, I don't remember it being quite this enjoyable. At the time, you were probably comparing it to Conan.
So then the queen gets impaled, goes into because she has like a run through of this lava through her throne room and gets thrown into the lava herself because the chasm opens and she falls into the crack in the floor.
Yeah. And this them running out of the castle takes longer than the actual sword duel.
Yes, it does. It does.
And the whole time you just hear Arnold going,
and you think he's going to die a couple of times because he has to hold up the castle in order for them to get out. And
that was pretty impressive. It's like, I got this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And then they head off into the sunset together. And apparently they were hopefully going to make more Red Sonja movies, maybe with Conan this time, but it never was to happen.
That would have been very confusing if he then suddenly showed up again as Conan.
Yeah.
Right. I was really hoping. So at the end here, where they have this whole kind of foreplay game back on, and they both brought up their swords, I wanted like a freeze frame Rocky Apollo moment where, they're like pre-punch and they just freeze frame it. That would have been great, but no, they didn't do it. They didn't go that route. And this castle, boy, that castle really blew up.
It blew up several times, I think.
It was a lot. Were there like explosives hidden in the bottom of that castle? But I am now convinced that horses as a species are spacefaring, because it doesn't matter whether we're watching some sci-fi epic or some fantasy. There's always horses.
Yeah, they're
everywhere.
Yeah,
they are the true alien species throughout the known realms. Yes.
Did you ever see this in theater?
No. I had to have watched this on VHS, I'm sure. And it probably was only once. There's large sequences in here that I don't remember at all.
Yeah, I had no memory of that.
I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, but this was at the point when I was actually reading reviews and listening to them, because previous to this, I'd like see a review in a paper. Oh, this old man doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
And then I'd go see.
Now we're that old man.
And then I'd go see Kroll, like, oh, maybe he was right. And that happened to me enough where I was like, okay, maybe I'll listen to these reviews. And I probably saw something that was scathing on Red Sonja and thought I'm never going to watch this. And I probably didn't until it was on HBO.
Yeah. I feel some people see that, like even now, it's like, oh, Furiosa underperformed. Well, I guess I'm not going to see that. It's like, no, go see it. Go see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't listen to these morons. Yeah, we don't have Siskel and Ebert anymore.
Released, as we said, in July 3rd of 1985. So this was a big July 4th weekend when this thing came out.
But yeah, think about 85. That was a big movie year.
And Arnold had already made a name for himself with not only Conan, but Terminator had come out the year before. You could have killed your career because it had just started, really, when this movie came out. But thankfully, just a few months later, Commando was released, did gangbusters. So this was forgotten. It was wiped clean from the slate.
This is back when these guys would release 3-4 movies a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
This had a $17 million budget. And it made $7 million at the box office. So killed Brigitte's career.
Wasn't she in Cobra?
Was she? Well, she married Stallone.
I think she was in Cobra. I'm going to say that one more time. I think she's in Cobra. But this also ruined his relationship with De Laurentiis. Because
he was mad.
Well, because he got... So was he only paid for the 1 week he was supposed to be there?
Maybe, I don't know.
He got paid.
Maybe
what
because of this
doing that took
this alleged affair, right? And so
he gets top billing. He gets top billing over Brigitte, who was pretty much an unknown anyways. She was a cover fashion model.
So yeah, you're right. She was in Cobra. She was in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Oh,
Then
yes.
then the movies kind of start getting into like sequels of sequels of sequels.
Yeah. I think this might have been her shining moment.
Oh, and she was in, I don't even remember, but she was in Creed 2. So we saw her in Creed 2 at some point.
Flashbacks? I don't
know.
remember that. But you bring up Beverly Hills Cop. Do you see that Axel F is coming out on Netflix?
No, I didn't see that.
Everything old is new again.
I guess so. So yeah, I have no memories of this either way. This kind of wiped from my radar, much like it was wiped from Arnold's filmography.
I'm not going to talk about it.
So I thought it would be, fun to cover with Furiosa, and it was. It's a fun watch.
Agree. This was actually a very entertaining watch. I was delighted. So
yeah,
not a great movie, but I think it falls right in those 80s.
Plus, it's got Arnold. You can't go wrong with an Arnold.
At least his eyes weren't bugging out of his head. Not in this one.
So I would go maybe unintentionally funny in some places, but actually
trying to spank the kid was funny.
I take that back because I don't think that this was filmed with anything but a tongue-in-cheek in mind. So
you think so?
So unintentionally funny might be too cruel. It is funny, period. And it has that great mechanical monster scene. So for that, I'm going to give it 3.25 buckets. I'm
going to sit at 3.
3?
I enjoyed watching this. And like I said, some of the matte paintings and some of the set pieces were actually much higher quality than I would have given it credit for. So whether you want to call him Calidor or Conan, doesn't matter.
Right.
It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You want to pretend that was Conan. That's okay.
You could do it. Yeah. It's not that far out of the realm of possibility.
And I think Red Sonja has been that name. I think there's been bandied about rumors of rebooting this as a movie franchise.
Robert Rodriguez was attached to
right.
it.
Yes.
And Rose McGowan was in talks to play the title character back in 2008.
Oh, that was a while ago now. Yeah.
Yeah, but that got scrapped, obviously.
I heard Anya Joy-Taylor's not doing anything. Anya Taylor-Joy. Boy, I cannot pull together a 3-name sentence.
In September 2018, Hollywood Reporter said that Bryan Singer was interested in directing a reboot. And then, of course, other events happening with Mr. Singer kind of made that.
No wonder why that kind of went away.
They're still trying to make it with someone else as of 2022. Maybe someday sooner than later, we will see a new Red Sonja. So there you have it. All right. So what else did we do?
Between my son's graduation and then the vacation cruise, about the only thing I got to watch were the New York Knicks go down in flames during the NBA playoffs. So I ain't got much to come to the table with this week.
I gave the original Dune another chance, not the 1984 Dune, but the Timothée Chalamet, Dune 1 from a few years ago,
which is now on Max.
Which is now on Max, and it's been on Max because wasn't that like a day and date release with Max or soon after?
Yeah, that's right. You guys actually, you and Christina watched it on Max. I was the only one that when we covered it saw it in the theater.
Okay,
and that's why I liked it significantly more than you did.
Yes, I was going to say that I don't remember liking it that much.
Yeah,
during my first viewing,
all over it. Yep.
But seeing it again this time because everybody's been raving about Dune Part 2, and I have to go back, and just like we saw Fury Road before we went to go see Furiosa, I know I need to go and reacquaint myself with it before I watch Dune 2, and I really enjoyed it. And so maybe there is something to not talking about a movie like the minute after you see it, because it's got to really sink in, and maybe you got to watch it more than once in order to really appreciate what's going on. And that is the case with Dune. I really enjoyed it the second time.
That's why moving forward, we're going to wait a solid year after the movie comes out before we actually cover it.
Or maybe we should cover everything twice.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I listened to my review. I was an idiot.
I am an idiot.
And I'm a maroon. What a maroon.
Oh, so
Hey,
yeah.
it's how we felt at the moment.
So, but it took me because it is a long movie.
It is a
So
long movie.
it took me 3 days to finish it, like an hour here.
See, you can't do
an
that in
hour
the theater.
there.
You can't
Yeah.
like, can you stop and I'll be back tomorrow?
So I haven't even started Dune 2 yet. So
Okay.
that'll be this coming week.
Now
watch
is Dune 2 you have to rent?
No, it is now on
It is.
Max. Yeah.
Oh, I am going to have to do the same then because, again, like you said, rave reviews.
Zendaya says at the end of Dune 1, this is only the beginning. So I guess she's speaking truth.
She didn't have a three-way with sandworms, did she?
That movie is like, oh yeah, it's the three-way tennis Zendaya movie. I don't know what it's about. That's all I know.
Yeah. I don't know. I can do without it. I don't need to see that.
No. So what are we doing next episode?
Are we doing a 5 bucket?
I think we are. I think we're going back to the 5 buckets.
I am very, very excited for this. This was actually I just had a conversation about this movie with someone the other day. Would we both consider this a 5 bucket? Because I'm going to tell you right now,
Yes.
This is a solid 5 bucket. There is not a single flaw in this movie. It is seamless. There's not a single scene wasted.
And in order to talk about this movie, it is extremely important to heavily reference, I think for both of us, the cinematic experience that we had watching it for the first time.
Ooh, 1993.
Yeah. So what we're talking about.
Guess. You out there. Guess right now. Nope, you're wrong.
It's The Firm with Tom Cruise.
I did see that in the theater. Probably opening weekend.
So did I.
The Firm.
No, it is Jurassic Park, of course.
Jurassic Park that they just can't get away from. They just keep milking this damn franchise. We got kids TV shows. We've got all kinds of how many sequels?
I lost
3
count.
in the prequels. 3. Well, Jurassic 1, 2, 3, and then we had Jurassic World 1, 2, 3.
We're getting into Planet of the Apes territory now, where I don't know where we are.
Can we merge those 2 movies together? Those franchises.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Apes fighting dinosaurs. Apes riding dinosaurs.
Somebody make that happen.
Apes going. Ooh.
As a matter of fact, I think when we were in the caves, we came out into the jungles, and I actually made reference. I said, "Where do you keep the T-Rex paddock?" And nobody thought it was funny.
Oh, you know what? I have yet another Sasquatch sunset joke that
okay.
I forgot about.
This is a gift that keeps on giving 3 episodes later.
Remember last episode, I made the joke about how Bigfoot must be a huge Cologuard customer just because of all the available excrement.
The way that they were evacuating,
excrementing all over the place. Because of that, it's a great opportunity missed to have Bigfoot in your Cologuard commercials, because he could be dropping it off at the edge of the forest, right, for the UPS guy, singing, "I did it my way."
What can Brown do for you?
You've seen the Cologuard commercials, right?
I have. I see them. Listen, I see the Cologuard boxes every day. That's hazmat right there.
So yes, maybe I'll come up with another Sasquatch joke by next time. Who knows?
This is the gift that keeps on giving. So,
well,
I guess you're going to have to tune in the next episode to find listen to yet another one of Jim's Sasquatch sunset jokes.
So yeah,
we're still probably the only 2 that have ever seen it.
I know, and now it's on streaming. We still are probably the only 2 that's ever seen it.
Yes, I'm not paying for that. Very cool. Well, yes, this was a long time coming. Furiosa was high on my list. So
yeah, mine too.
Yep. All right, we're heading to Jurassic Park.
Yes, we are.
Oh, I saw a guy on the ship that my daughter yelled at me because I snapped a picture of an old man who looked just like John Hammond.
Oh,
just any opportunity. He had the hat, he had the shirt, and he had the cane. And I said, "Welcome to Jurassic Park." Yeah, that was funny. The first 2 times, Dad. They were good now.
Before we leave Furiosa, one other question I had. I can understand her having white teeth as a girl in the green place, but how does she maintain that all the way through?
Maybe they're just using the white mud that they cover each other.
Maybe they do. Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that Immortan Joe's got a pretty good dental plan.
Oh, he's got some horse teeth, that guy. Yeah.
You think the old lady with the maggots They just puts them in your mouth, let they eat the
Yeah, that's what they
food
use as
particles
that's
out.
what they use as toothpaste. It's
That is.
very gritty, apparently.
Yeah. Yum.
Mm.
Okay.
All right, with that.
And on that note, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
We'll be back. Bye.
Bye. If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand.
Maybe they were putting a plant in a shoe like Wally. I don't know.
It could be. Wow.